Each of us exists in this world with our own internal drives, with our own focuses, with our own missions for this existence which we have been granted. But what happens when we stray from those missions, when we try to leave, when we try to make a life outside of that internal meaning? Welcome to Strip Coverlet, where we squeeze the bigger picture out of literature. I'm Adrian Fort, and we're here for a poetry discussion, which will exist in two different playlists here on the channel. Number one being the poetry discussion playlist, now over 800 videos strong. Number two being the Dark Academia playlist, a playlist of videos dedicated to the ascetic and the aesthetic of Dark Academia. Now, the poem that we will be discussing today is The Owl by Edward Thomas, and it reads as such. Downhill I came, hungry, and yet not starved, cold, yet had heat within me that was proof against the north wind, tired, yet so that rest had seemed the sweetest thing under a roof. Then, at the inn, I had food, fire, and rest, knowing how hungry, cold, and tired I was. All of the night was quite barred out except an owl's cry, a most melancholy cry, shaken out long and clear upon the hill, no merry note, nor cause of merriment, but one telling me plain what I escaped, and others could not, that night as I went in, and salted my food and my repose, salted and sobered too by the bird's voice, speaking for all who lay under the stars, soldiers and poor, unable to rejoice. Where I want to focus this is right here. We have the speaker saying they had escaped. I doubt that. I do not believe this for one moment. Now, this poem is often spoken about in context of justice. I am free, but others who should not be locked up are. It is often talked about in context of social justice. I have my freedoms, pardon me, but others still do not. I can do whatever it is that I want, but others cannot, etc. Things like that. This poem is often anthologized in correlation with World War I poems because of when it was written and sort of the subject matter here, the mention of soldiers, etc. Alongside Rupert Brooke, Wilfred Owen, Siegfried Sassoon. Those are all, so obviously I am not in the war. Other people have to be in the war, in the trenches, etc. I have escaped. Those are all obviously different uses for this poem. But as I stated earlier, this is going to be in the Dark Academia playlist, and it's going to be in the Dark Academia playlist for a very good reason, if you ask me. One of the things in this playlist of Dark Academia that I have talked about time and again is that Dark Academia, I think, is one of two ways. Someone enters Dark Academia because they need to change. They die going into a dark academic mindset, framework, life space, and they emerge as someone transformed. They do not feel that they are living their life to the fullest as far as of which their brain is capable. They enter the dark academic state. They transform the self, and they emerge as someone else. The other is the mad scientist archetype. You enter dark academia, and somewhere there is that switch that can be flipped, and you emerge from dark academia. But you don't. You stay. You become lost. You become wayward. You are on a mission that is life level, not temporary, not right now. A mission instead that is for your entire being. I think when talking about those two things, the difference between those two things, one thing that is perhaps undersold is that dark academia can be a multiple use event in your life. You can go back into dark academia. You can go back to going dark and pursuing something, being on a mission. In this poem, the speaker emerges from the woods and travels to an inn, but he hears that owl cry, beckoning, perhaps warning. After he hears the owl cry, he says he has escaped. But where do we go from there? The individual is constantly putting everything else into context by what it is that he had gone through in the woods. He is constantly putting everything back into context from the dark academic, perhaps, journey on which he had been. He tries to escape. He hears the owl, even though he is in comfort now. Even though he is in the inn, he is eating salted food. That owl's cry does not leave his consciousness. So there is, in the Big Five, something called conscientiousness, and I got this from ChatGPT. So I don't have to, I don't have to credit anyone. Just the collective consciousness of the internet, I suppose. But this, I'm going to use this to describe what it is that people are feeling when they feel dragged back into something, the way that you might re-enter a dark academic state. Conscientiousness, the Big Five, is a personality trait that reflects being organized, responsible, self-disciplined, and goal-directed. That sounds a lot like dark academia, doesn't it? The tendency to plan, persist, and follow rules and standards rather than act impulsively. Still on that same track. Core facets often cited: industriousness, achievement striving, working hard, and finishing what you start. Orderliness, liking structure, tidiness, and schedules. Dutifulness and reliability, keeping promises, meeting obligations. Self-discipline, resisting distractions, delaying gratification. Cautiousness and deliberation, thinking before acting. These are things which describe someone who is, my mouse is not working, who is conscientious. The poem that we have here describes someone who has escaped what it is that they had gone through. Obviously, some struggle. Staying in the woods is not the easiest thing to do, right? That is the only context that we have for the speaker in this poem, that he had been in the woods and left. He is then thinking about all of the poor and all of the soldiers who still have to sleep on some level in the wilderness. I think for some people, this idea is lifelong. Being conscientious is something that does not leave you. Being conscientious is something that stays with you, whether you are in a relaxed world or not. It is something that follows you, and in fact, I think puts you at great odds with the life that you are living if you are not living in tune with this conscientiousness. The speaker in this poem seems to be conscientious, seems to have touch with that part of himself that would struggle without mission. He leaves the way someone might emerge from a dark academic turn in their life. But that dark academic turn does not leave him or her. I don't think there's any real gender to this poem. I think this conscientiousness that is there for many people can be something that does lead them towards a very fulfilling life. A life which does help them feel as if and as though they are living to the fullest. But what happens when you leave? When you stop acting in a conscientious manner? Well, then it starts to eat at you. The same way that I think, and I propose, a dark academic turn would eat at someone who has left that lifestyle. That is all I have for this poetry discussion. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting a like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other literature lovers. If you find yourself here by chance but not design, there is nothing but literature on this channel. There's poetry every Monday, and I hope to have you back for the next one.